If you've ever sat in a hospital hallway with your child, terrified, exhausted, wondering if things will ever get better, this episode is for you. Today's conversation is raw, honest, and deeply hopeful. My guest, Claudine Pereira, shares her story of walking through her daughter's severe mental health crisis, from anxiety and misdiagnosis to psychosis, hospitalization, fear, guilt, and all the helplessness only a parent can truly understand. But what makes this conversation so powerful is that it doesn't end there. Because on the other side of the pain is healing, and on the other side of fear is understanding, and on the other side of the stigma is hope. We talk about what really happens to families during mental health struggles, the pressure parents carry behind closed doors, and the importance of getting proper support, and why turning the lens inward and taking care of yourself matters just as much as helping your child. And if you're someone listening right now who feels overwhelmed, ashamed, alone, or scared for your son or daughter, I want you to hear this before we begin. You're not failing. You are not alone. And this does not mean your family story is over. Sometimes the hardest seasons become the very thing that rebuilds us. So let's get into this incredibly important conversation with the amazing Claudine Pereira. Welcome back to another episode. I am super excited today. We have the lovely Claudine Pereira, aka the Pink Coach. And she is joining me because she is a woman who has also gone through some struggles with her teenage young adult daughter, such as I have. Claudine and I have been associated for, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years. And we've gone through this together over the years and shared stories and love for one another and support. So tell us a little bit about your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about for you, but for me, what happened with my daughter's mental illness is it showed up later, around
Right.
15, 16 years old, and then started to progress. So I don't really know the story
Yeah.
of how all of this happened with your daughter. So we all want to hear.
Cool. No, that's amazing. And thank you again for having me. All these lovely comments. You're so special to me. I'll just start with saying this. Right now, she's 28 and is doing amazing. She just graduated from George Brown 4-year program as child and youth worker. She did a placement with disabled young people, which was amazing. And she's got a job offer with Toronto District School Board in her dream job. That's just happening right now. So, I want everyone just to start on the positive note of there is hope. I think sometimes we get into that mindset in society of, oh, once you've got mental illness, there's no fixing you, there's no going back. Well, that's not true, because Courtney's story is one of success, resilience, and, all of the work that she did to heal herself as well, as the help that we had. So I just wanted to start by saying that. As I think back, Courtney really started her journey with what I call anxiety when she was probably 10 or 11 in grade school. She was always the anxious one going into the classroom, first day of school, very nervous, throwing up, and that kind of went right through her teenage years. Now, back then, that was the 90s, and I think we were not as fully aware as parents of mental illness, anxiety, ADHD, all of the things that are very prevalent now, our antennas go right up. So it just kind of went, oh, that's nice, anxiety, she's anxious, or we really didn't think anything of it. But when I do look back, that's where it started. After her father left, that's when things got progressively worse in her sort of teenage later years, 18, 19, 20, things like that. Nothing reckless, but, obviously the anxiety was taking hold. When she was 23, she was during the pandemic, and, the anxiety had really heightened. And if you have anxiety, you know what that feels like, that heaviness on your chest. Went to her family doctor, who prescribed her an SSRI, which made her worse. And by the time We were in the psychiatrist's office. She was already in full mania and borderline psychotic because they had missed the boat. They hadn't given her a proper diagnosis, which was bipolar 1. And I want to talk about the differences between bipolar 1 and 2 so that you are, listeners are sort of aware of it, because it's easily missed and disguised as anxiety. And, her father had it, and it was obviously in the bloodline, and the doctor missed it. So by the time we were in the psychiatrist's office at Sunnybrook, he said, your family doctor did this to her, and said that you never give anybody with bipolar, a schizotic disorder, which is just chemical imbalance in the brain, any kind of SSRI or anxiety medication. He said it's like putting oil on a fire. So that was the beginning of our journey.
Wow.
Yeah. And you wouldn't think your family doctor's going to give you something that could eventually kill your child. You put full trust in them. And I was shocked, horrified. I didn't know what was going on. When you see people on the street that are yelling or screaming or like just talking really, 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 when you're manic, you're talking really, really, really fast. You're talking 1,000,000 miles an hour. You're spending money like crazy. She would spend money on her credit card, my credit card. You don't know what you're doing because you're manic.
Right.
And that's what the medication did to her.
How long was she on that medication?
She was on it from the summer, because I remember specifically we were sitting out the front here and she was on it in the summertime. And this was in November.
Okay.
So it had
Wow,
been a
few
while.
months.
It had been a few months, and instead of getting better, she was getting worse. So the psychiatrist said to Sunnybrook, I'm sitting in front of him, and he was head of psychiatry at the time. He was a big old dinosaur, and he said, we should really be admitting her now. And I remember sitting there as a parent saying, admitting her? Like your worst nightmare as a parent to think your kid's going to be admitted to the psych ward. And he said, I should also be taking away your driver's license. And honestly, I don't have any regrets in my life, but if I had to go back and change something, it would be that moment. And she should have been admitted right then and there. The story would have taken a different turn. But as a parent, I was like, no, you can't do that to my child. We'll manage it. And we didn't.
Okay. Okay. So what
Yeah.
was, I understand. So what was your decision to do instead?
So what happened was, went home as normal. She was starting to hallucinate and, think that people were coming to her flat when they weren't. We
She was
tried to.
living on her own?
She was living on her own.
Okay.
Her partner at the time had moved out because she was having mania and psychosis and didn't know what to do about it and left. So it was pretty bad. And my sister, who's a, psychotherapist, was sort of walking us through it and was saying, you've got to admit her. And I said, I can't do it. Now, if I had to do it all again, I would drive her myself down there.
Okay.
So the night before her birthday, she was hallucinating because when you're in mania, the same thing happens if you have any schizophrenic disorders, Alzheimer's, dementia. Mania is something that kind of goes between the two. And then if mania is not treated, it goes into psychosis. So she was having a first episode of psychosis, this was what we learned, because things had just gone too far. Mania turns into psychosis, and she was hearing voices telling her to like jump off a balcony. Luckily, my sister was on FaceTime with her. They called the ambulance, police came, and she was admitted to the Center for Mental Health and Addiction in Toronto, which is a great mental hospital, one of the best in the world. And she was admitted on her birthday. And that's where she stayed for 20 days. It was the absolute worst time of my life as a parent, but it was the best thing that ever happened to us as a family. And that's what I want to talk about, the help that CAMH really brought us out of here.
Right. I have a question. When you decided, no, I don't want to admit her, and the Sunnybrook doctor was telling you about what had happened with the family doctor's decision,
Mm-hmm.
did they take her off the SSRIs? Like,
Right
what
away.
was his?
Immediately.
So he allowed you to leave. What did he tell you to do?
He said, we're going to watch her closely, make sure she takes her medication. She should have really been admitted that day. He said, take her keys away, which I did. But she would steal them. I'd be at work and she'd be here in the house and she'd go through the coats and she'd steal her keys to go in the car. She doesn't want, they don't know what, you don't know what you're doing when you're a mania. When you see that person yelling and screaming on the street, they're not crazy. They're manic. For many reasons. And mania and psychosis, a first episode of psychosis can be brought on by many different things. Wrong medications in this sense. So once we had a proper diagnosis at CAMH, which was bipolar 1, and it was the road to recovery. And she was, she was on a very high dose of lithium, which lithium is basically salt. And all it does is it levels out the chemicals in the brain, as well as quetiapine, which is a very high dose, which stops the mania. Now, medications don't just kick in overnight. They
Right.
take weeks, weeks. So once she was discharged, we went to live with her, and she was not properly healed yet. She was really not properly healed because it takes time. And, the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 is bipolar 1 is mania, hypermania, psychosis. Bipolar 2 is depression, which is what her dad had. So, they don't want to do anything, up and down, sitting on the couch. And that wasn't her. So really understanding what this was and getting past, her journey to recovery was really tough because she lost friends, because when she was in mania, she did things or messages, certain things that went on that I kept saying to the friends, this is not her. She's not well. But yet people from our church, friends from the church that have been friends forever, turn their back on her, and would lightly keep in touch. Family members, cousins, just didn't really bother or didn't choose to understand. And that has been extremely hurtful for her. And now we've gotten past that. She has a very nice, beautiful new circle of friends that really are very patient, understanding, because it was a journey. So I cannot say enough about the CAMH and the Slate team. The Slate team, we were in the program for 3 years. She had caseworkers, someone to help her to get back to work. Family members, we had a caseworker, we had education sessions every single week, we had family support every single week, and they saved us. They saved her life. And I will be eternally, eternally grateful for everything that they did.
Did she ever do anything to harm herself or another person?
No, thank God.
Yeah.
It was a miracle. She could have
Okay.
done. I just
Yeah.
say, God protected her. She was
Yeah.
driving all over the place. She was manic. She was in psychosis. She was driving her car. The police pulled her over, followed her back. Like, it was just by the grace of God alone that no one got injured and she didn't hurt somebody, because she doesn't, the gift with some of these things, and where I'm keeping things very high level, is that she actually doesn't remember so many of these things. The brain works in
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget. But we really have seen this as a gift. I pray to God every single day. You've probably been in the same boat. And, I would go, just help her, help her get a job, help her on the right path. And God did not answer. God gave us a psychotic episode and brought us right down to base level so we could rebuild. And here she is today, married, happy, just a graduate, living a great life, and she's healthy. She's on her medication. She did the work and a support, because, as parents, you do enable it. You enable, as a single mom, you and I talked about this, that you kind of give them everything they need. I gave her everything that she wanted, not everything that she actually needed. There was a difference between the two. So I take my responsibility there as a single mom going, I was just trying to do my best for her, but it was a hindrance.
Can you clarify that a little bit? What do you mean
Yeah.
by you gave her everything she wanted versus what she needed?
Needed. So need meaning, do you really, you need a bed, you need frying pans, you need a clean bed to sleep in at night. That's a need. A want is, I want to go away to Niagara Falls for the night. I want to take a trip. I want a dog. I want a cat. I want. But that's not a need, right? That's a nice to have. And so as a parent, and our caseworker, our caseworker was just saying, like, you need to take a step back. And that was very, very difficult for me in a time where I wanted to just cuddle her and just be all over her. I had to give her the space also in the journey with the support of the Slate team. They were watching her. There was many of them, psychiatrist, caseworker, the C worker, which Anita, who got her back to work by the April and got her job, where now she's been there for 4 years at the Nook, and able to get back into school, get her grants. She's been on the Dean's Honor Roll list, I think 7 times. A plus. She got an A plus for her placement, Lisa. I tell you, this is a kid I couldn't get out of bed for high school.
Right.
It is a miracle. And that is
It
all
is.
down to CAMH. And I just say that, one, it's understanding. Two, it's understanding how to navigate the system. And I really think that this ugly gift was given to us for many a reason. One, to help her on her journey, and really understand what was going on and not make it a label. This is life and this happens. But also as a mom, to help support other mothers and to help support. Many a time I had that phone call to say, oh my gosh, my kid's going through this. What do you think I should do? And I say, you just go straight. You take them straight to CAMH or whatever hospital near you that has a psych ward. Because I think the stigma attached to it needs to go away. It's still there.
Absolutely. There is a lot of guilt and shame.
Yeah.
I mean, you already indicated that her friends and family members were stepping back because why do you think that is? What do you think what do you think all that shame and guilt is around, really?
Trust me, I wish I had the ideal answer for this, but I talked it over with another, my other friend a friend of mine. Now, her daughter sadly took her own life, and we met her at the Sash Fair walk. That's how, Lisa and
Diane.
Diane, we got, we discovered the Sash Fair walk, which Lisa and I are going to do this year, and to highlight, mental health and awareness. And I had lunch with her one day and I said, why do people turn their back on you when this happens? And she kind of described it to me. And I think this is a pretty accurate synopsis that we're kind of like, oh, they've got mental health issues in their family. Like you're dirty, like something's happened to you, or, oh my God, we can't associate with them because they've got mental illness and they're sick and they were in the psych ward and they're not well. And that's the only thing that we really kind of came up with. And and I think also too, people don't always know how to handle it and understand it and they don't know what to say. So it becomes this awkward thing. Okay, that's fine. But then now she's better. Where are you guys? What happened to you during the journey? Why did you not step up and support her? Why did you not understand? So, at the end of the day, it's their loss. And she's grown into such a better person for all of this. And again, I think it's stigma. That's the only thing I think, that people are
The way
just,
that you described it there, it sounded almost like they thought it was contagious.
it's like, yes, you got that right. It's like it's contagious. It's like, ooh, I can't come near you. I'm going to get the lurgy.
Yeah.
Like
The what?
the lurgy. Come on, you're English. The lurgy. You're going to get the lurgy.
For
We
us
say,
non-English.
so the
What is the
lurgy means
definition?
like, lurgy. The lurgy means you're going to get sick. If I touch you, ew, I'm going to get sick. I'm going to get
Okay.
the lurgy. The
Yeah.
lurgy. Yeah,
Okay.
I know. So, oh, I can't be around you because you're not well, or what will people think if I hang out with you? Just horrible. Honestly, I say good riddance. You don't need any of those people in your life. You need good people that are going to
Well, I
support
mean,
you.
there are definitely people are afraid, right? They're afraid of what they don't understand. And
Yeah.
I have to say, I love that first of all, you first went to the doctor and got
Mhm.
really bad advice, and
It's a fact.
it's a fact. I think that happened with us a lot we went to the hospital, a local hospital. And then I've also had other friends who have gone through a similar thing with the hospital.
Hmm.
And essentially what the nurse told me was because they had all these gurneys lined up with kids on them,
My.
waiting for someone to come see them. And I asked the nurse, I said, well, how many of them will actually go upstairs? And she said, trust me, she goes, even if you go upstairs, it's not going to make a difference. What they're essentially waiting to happen is for that episode, that crisis to end, and then just ship them back. And I remember I was in the I was in the emergency ward on the gurney with my daughter, and she didn't want me to leave, so I didn't
Yeah.
leave. And the nurse said, "We've never had a parent stay overnight on the gurney with her daughter before." And I
Really?
thought, yeah, yeah. And
Mm,
and I understand that because I mean, you and I are single mothers, so maybe it's different. I mean, and we only had one child.
that's right.
So imagine being a mother with other children and you're going through all this, and then that individual's no longer in the household for a short period of time. I could see how they could think of it as a reprieve.
Yeah. Yes, maybe. Well, and it's very interesting as we right away as parents, we go, oh, how can you not have a parent staying on the gurney? Because what I learned and good for you for staying, because it is hard. It's not easy to see your child in that much pain. You want to take that bullet for them and take every bit of pain away. But I will just say this, that a lot of when I was in family support groups, the family support is parents, and we've all got the commonality is we have someone in our lives that has had a first episode of psychosis. Now, that psychosis could have been caused by something different. It could have been caused by a trauma. One guy was kicked out of the army. One girl was molested. Another one was medication, drugs. Drugs is a big thing. Young people, you're young, your brain doesn't mature till 25, and you're doing a lot of drugs can send you easily into psychotic episode. And a lot of these parents, what would happen is the kids would go get admitted to CAMH, have their medication. CAMH and the psych wards, all they do is like, it's a triage. They're trying to give you immediate relief for that broken leg, and then you go into treatment. And what you do after that is up to you with the support of that team. But, a lot of the parents on that group, it would break my heart because the kids they'd come out, take the meds, feel good, stop the meds, start drugs, they're right back in. And
Yeah.
a lot of the parents were just at the end of the rope going, this is his 22nd, 23rd time being readmitted. I can't do this anymore. And
Yes.
he's in the house smoking weed. So the
Yes.
caseworker would say, okay, but you're enabling it. You're allowing that.
Yes.
And man, the stories. In fact, when Courtney started to get really better, I would always go back every week going, it was good because I could say different things and say, okay, this is month 2 out. She's got this thing where she's kind of flat all the time. She's just like flat. And they said, oh yeah, it's a part of the medication. She's adjusting. Because I'd say to her, are you okay? She goes, yeah, I'm fine. But she's very flat. And then something called sundowners. So it was good because I didn't know about sundowners. Like 5 o'clock, she needs to be home, safe space, very normal. So that support group. So I get it. Some parents are just at the end of their rope going, I just can't do this anymore. So hard.
It is. And I mean, I think that's the point where the parent recognizes they've got to now turn the lens inward and take care of themselves.
Exactly. And you know what? And I love the name of your show because it is so true. And that's what I remember one day I had a huge meltdown on the because I was working, making sure she was okay, or had a friend around, or so many different things. Because you're scared it's going to happen again, right?
Yes.
And I remember having a massive nervous breakdown on the family support, and they said, "You need to take a break. You need to go away and take a break," which I did, and it was so hard to leave her, but I had to for my own mental health, my own, because she started to get better and then I got worse and ended up having PTSD and those panic attacks. I was in Cuba having one at a market one day because I kept hearing triggers. Things would trigger you. Certain songs. There was an Adele song that she would play at the top of her lungs, driving in her car at like 100, going crazy. And I couldn't hear this song. It would just trigger me. And so, taking care of yourself as a parent in all of this is so massively important. I can't begin to stress how important it is to you get help as well.
Right. And you recognize that when someone told you that's what you needed.
Thank God. Can you imagine?
I
I mean,
think that is one of the big topics that I'm talking about on this podcast is listening to the body and understanding that it's not
Yeah.
selfish to take care of yourself. And I
Oh,
mean,
it's
it's that
not.
metaphor of the airplane mask, right? You got to
That's
put it
right.
on
Put the
first.
oxygen. Put the oxygen mask on. Exactly. And it's not selfish. And again, that's been the journey, right? Getting yourself some help as well as supporting them, but having your boundaries. You know, if you do have a child that is smoking weed or drugs and then they're on medications and they're of age, that if they're doing that under your roof, that becomes on you. Then you got to say, if you want to live this life, you need to give. And that's very hard, tough love. It's so difficult. It is so difficult.
Quick interruption. 92% of you aren't subscribed. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you being here. If you'd hit follow or subscribe, it genuinely helps more than you think. That's what grows a podcast and gets it in front of the parents who need it most. Okay, let's get back to it. You're right. It is a form of tough love. And I think that the old definition of tough love isn't exactly correct
Right.
because
Right.
it's more like pulling back
Yeah.
love and making that love conditional.
Right.
But really tough love is doing the right thing and standing up because you do love your kid so much.
Of course. And
Eh,
it's hard. It's hard to do that because you love them so much and you want to naturally give them everything or enable them or help them solve their problem. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. You know, you got a problem. Okay, I'm here to solve it. And you can't because she needed to learn how to stand on her own 2 feet, do her own budget, do her own finances, pay her. I was paying all her bills. God knows how I did it. I was paying rent. You know, she was only getting $700 every second week and she was working at a minimum wage job. I was paying everything.
yeah.
So, which, hey, I would do it again in an absolute heartbeat. That's my child. I would, you know, you would just die for your kid. But very difficult, very difficult. So, you know, and I think also too, people understanding, unless you've been there, not to be, you know, people were very, very supportive, especially in our community. Look, you know, you and I reside in, lots and lots of support. But then other people to kind of say, "Are you all right now? Is she okay now? You all right?" Just like you had a cold. Yeah, you okay? You're all right now, aren't you? She's all right. Oh yeah, you good? Okay, good. Yeah, you're all right. No, I'm not all right. I'll never be the same again. And she's good, but I'll never be the same again. But I wear that. I'm a mum. That's what you sign up for the day you become a parent.
I know that you're spiritual, religious. Um, do you think that you were chosen for this?
Absolutely. 1,001%. I believe this is God's intervention. And, you know, whether you're a believer or not, I really do believe, and nothing good comes in your life through good times. It comes through bad times. And when bad things happen, everyone's like, why me? There's no God. Why not you? The Bible says the rain falls on the just and the unjust. So he doesn't go eeny, meeny, miny, now it's your turn. He's saying she wasn't ready to live the life that I was praying for because she was not well. So he revealed that in an ugly package. And so the ugly package was there and we dealt with it and we stayed faithful the whole time. We stayed faithful and knowing that he had a better plan. God had a plan for her. And only now in those last few years, and now she's finishing up school and graduating and has completed something, is we're joyful. You can't get that kind of joy out of having something easy in your life. That joy comes when you've been through hell. You've been in the pit of hell and despair. And when you come out of that, that is when you can rejoice.
Amen.
That's how I look at that. And it took me a long time to look at it this way. Trust me, I didn't always. I didn't. I was mad at God at the first. I was really mad. But then after I kept reading the Bible and studying and listening to different things and listening to Joyce Meyer a lot, then I realized this is purely God's intervention. Anything in your life, anything you go through that's bad, I go, okay, well, I just trust God that he's showing me something here. And what's the lesson in it? And that was my lesson. And it's opened my doors to people like you, that we can support each other as mums, and other mums that have gone through or going through stuff with their kids that still call me and say, what do you think? What should I do? Because you don't know what to do. You're in the pits of it and you don't want to see anything bad happen to your kid. But on the other hand, you don't know where to turn. And the thing is, they don't admit you until, what I learned was, the CAMH will not admit you until the police actually came the night before her birthday. And I said, please, can you take her in? They looked at one another and they said, harm to self, harm to others. And I said, no, not yet. And, and that's the criteria that they have to go by: harm to self, harm to others.
I didn't know that.
Yep. They won't admit you. But when you do get admitted with the police, here's the good news: they keep you for 72 hours immediately.
Yeah, that's what we were doing, waiting on the gurney, and all the
Yep.
other kids waiting
Yep.
on the gurney.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. But the thing is it's just waiting. It's waiting that 72 hours. So that was sort of where I was going when I was talking about the doctor and then the hospital. And then you went to Sunnybrook, and then you've got some really sound advice, but it
Yeah.
was still left up to you to decide.
Oh my God, if I could change it again, Lisa,
I
in that
know we're
moment.
not going to go, there's
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
guilt
yeah.
or shame around that.
No.
That exactly what happened. But then you found this CAMH organization, and I know you support it really fully. I've been to
Yes.
events that you hold, and
That's right.
you're raising money for it, and
Yeah.
you're telling everyone about it. You support, and I'm the same way with the Sash Bear, because Sash
Yes.
Bear, I really believe, changed our life. It taught me
Wow.
about validation. It taught
Amazing.
me about what borderline personality and emotional dysregulation looks like,
Of course.
and I understood. But really, we've got a society right now that is overwhelmed. I think there's a lot of mental illness. I mean, here in Durham, we've got marijuana stores on every other corner.
Oh,
So the
same here.
psychosis
Yeah.
is occurring. And like you said, the people standing on the corner in manic. I didn't really ever understand that until you just described that.
Yeah.
You just know that they have mental illness. You don't know what the situation is, but you see it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do about it? Well, you
Nothing.
walk on the other side of the street
Well, yeah.
because you
Yeah.
don't understand it. You don't recognize
No.
it. But I really, I mean, what are your thoughts about the future and the resources that are available, and the lack of education or the lack of these kind of conversations?
Yeah. Yeah. Many things here. I'll try and sum it up briefly. When I was supporting the homeless shelter a lot with donations and a lot of,
I remember.
reach out, I used to see a lot down there. I didn't really know what I was seeing. Now I get it. Well, my one friend, Coco, we got the bike for, she was in and out of psychosis because she was using. And when I asked her story one day when she wasn't high and she wasn't in mania, I said, Coco, what? She was transgender. So she was male transgendering into a female, if I said that right. Forgive me if I didn't. But anyway, she said that what happened was her mom was living with the boyfriend, and when the boyfriend was there, didn't like her way of lifestyle, and the mother kicked her out. So she had a place to live, but she got kicked out on the street. So quite often, sometimes mental health is generic, comes from, from the family member, or it comes from parents, what's going on at
Do you
home.
mean genetic?
Abuse. Genetic, yes.
Okay,
So
genetic.
Yeah, that's what I didn't say that, did I? It's genetic. That's
No,
what I mean.
but and that's why I wanted to clarify, because generic meant something that would have.
It's in the genes. No, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
It's in the genes. Like her dad had bipolar and passed it through. So the future, I think, is hopeful. What I really love is now we've got very much more awareness out there. And I think awareness is key. Knowledge is power. people like you and I talking about it, talking about the journey, talking about what it did to us, what it did to the children, what it's going to do to their future generations. I think that the more we keep talking, the more we have places like CAMH, the Sash Bear Walk, places where we can turn to, and we just keep talking about it. I think we have hope. You know, the suicide hotline now is 988. You can call them, you can text them. We have a lot of the kids helpline. We have tons of resources now. Is it really going to solve the systemic issue that we have in terms of the system, drug use? Now we have, again, you know, cannabis stores in every corner. One of the biggest factors in, you know, first episodes of Psychosis is drug use,
Yes.
you know? So how do we
Inhalation
even stop it?
centers,
Yep.
safe use centers. Yeah.
So, which I'm not against, those safe use centers, at least they're using, but they're safe, versus needles on the street, in the parks, in washrooms, you know, in kids' playgrounds. Is it going to get worse? Perhaps. You know, now we've got awareness and now society is changing. We've got a lot more layers to society. You know, people changing gender more than ever before, which is great. But I think all of these things carry a lot of mental health weight with it. And I just pray that, you know, we just continue to, you know, those powers that be, government, they start to inject more money into the mental health. You know, if Courtney didn't have a family to come to when she was released, let's pretend, right? We wonder, people say, oh, they just need to get a job. That's not the case. They don't want to be on the streets. I've spoken to many of those people at the shelters and heard their stories. And it's heartbreaking. Let's say I turned my back on her and she came out of CAMH. She wasn't quite ready. She was sent out with all her drugs, her clothes. She gets $700 every second week from a month actually. And I had to fill out that paperwork. She wasn't ready to do it. Guess where she would have ended up? On the street. Right? So again, because people don't want you couch surfing when you've got mental illness. So yeah, so that's kind of, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. I think we're going in the right direction. That's for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So now that, you know, we've talked about all of that, one question that came up for me that you kind of touched on a little bit, I wanted to bring it back up, was you said it was all on you. Like you were the one supporting. How did you go? And because you've been a coach for how many years?
God, I was 23. So what is that? I'm 54 now. Do the math.
So you've been
41
an
years.
entrepreneur since you were 23.
So I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years. I've been running
12
my
years.
business for 12 years, but I've been coaching since I was 23.
Okay.
When I was at the bank. Yeah.
So you don't work, you don't make money,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
And how did you bring yourself to do that? How did you bring yourself when all of that stuff's going on in the background?
Yeah.
And I don't know, did you talk to other people about it? Do people know about it?
Yes, I did. I did. In fact, the day after she was admitted was my Christmas party. I had the catering booked, I had the DJ booked, and I thought to myself, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and have it. You know, and I FaceTimed her from there. She had her phone and she goes, oh, Mum, you're not there. No one's there. That's a green screen. You're in England, aren't you? She was seeing things, hallucination, not real, right? So I went ahead and had it. So, of course, my client group quickly were rallying round. But financially, it's all me. I was back to work immediately. I'd work at her house, take care of the cats, go see her, come home. You know, how I cope at that when things like that happen, my resilience kicks in and I'm in survival mode. And then when she started to get better was when I started to relax, and that's when I started to suffer.
Right. So you just essentially like pulled up the big girl panties and just did it.
On with it. Yep, I had to get on with it.
Yeah.
I had to get on with it. Yeah.
Now knowing that, and then what happened, how would you advise people who are going through it right now and still have responsibilities and still have to pay their bills, but really their health is important? What would you tell them what would you suggest they do?
Well, it's such a tough one because everyone's in a different situation. I would say, don't completely put your life on hold. Right. Again, everybody reacts differently. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed either, but I knew by me keeping going, I was keeping my strength up because she was going to need me. So I say it depends. If you've got a partner, you share the load. Go to work, still try and have a semi-normal during the day. It's tough when you're navigating the medical system, doctor's calls and things like that. But if you do have someone to share the load, keep moving forward. Have something to believe in, hope, pray, talk to people. There's a lot of support out there now. You can even go to ChatGPT and ask, say, this is what I'm dealing with. Can you give me some support systems? There's many, depending wherever you live, you will find, wherever you're listening to this, you will find support, I think now more than ever. But you got to keep moving, because one day your loved one will be well, and you don't want to pack everything in as a result of that. You need to keep I needed some kind of normality, let's say.
Yeah, and you're
Some
so
form of
right.
normality, right?
Yeah, you're so right. It started for me really like in 2017, and there wasn't the resources that we have today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, there's, and I don't know if you ran into this problem or not, but my daughter was considered an adult. So I really
Yes,
wasn't part of
same.
the
Oh my God,
equation.
yes. Yeah, I forgot to talk about that she was an adult. She was 23, and you know, she at one point revoked consent. So I wasn't able to find out anything. She didn't even remember what she was doing. I think that the doctor had said to her, "Oh, your parents just keep calling, or your mum." And I think they talked her into revoking consent. So I knew nothing. Luckily, my
Really?
sisters still have it. Oh, yeah.
Why would they do that, do you
I did.
think?
I don't know. I couldn't get to the bottom of it. She just said, "Yeah, the doctor kept saying that your mum's driving me crazy or something," and so she revoked the consent.
My goodness.
So we kind of had to talk to her. I can't remember. Anyway, it all turned around in the end. Again, you don't know what you don't know. You're not in sound mind, so influences are all around you there, right?
I mean, I don't even know if I should really bring this up, but
Yeah.
the other day I heard that they passed the bill for a maid uh, to be allowed for people with
Did
mental
they?
illness.
Oh, I knew that was coming, so they've passed it now, eh?
That's what I
Mm,
heard.
right, right.
Uh,
That's pretty frightening. I mean, again, if you are not but I would imagine, I would like to hope that if they're assessing it, that they're trying to see, is that person of sound mind or not? Because if someone's in mania saying, yeah, I want to die, I want to die, I want to die, or in having psychosis, a maid comes in and then they die, like, that would just be awful. So I
yeah,
hope they've got some parameters around it.
don't really know. I don't really know.
Mm,
Maybe that's something that I'm going to look into and
yeah, I
have a
think so.
conversation with in the future.
Yeah,
But that's something that's happening in Canada, um, which is very scary based on what you've been through, what I've been through when we're only 2.
I know. Imagine, what is it, 1 in 5? And mental health, in men too. It's again all going underground, but I think we got to just keep talking about it. So what, you lose a friend or a relative, it is what it is. She grieved the loss of these guys, and it was painful to watch, but she'll be stronger for it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, she's in a good place and has a
Yeah.
new circle,
Oh,
and
amazing.
the same for my daughter. She
Amazing.
finally has a really great guy that she's with,
Amazing.
where the business is doing really well. She started riding a motorbike last year, so now she has this motorbike community, and she's
Brilliant.
found other girls to ride with, and some girls that she's really got a lot of stuff in common with. So it's beautiful.
I'm so happy. That makes me
Yeah.
happy.
I'm happy
You
for you too.
yeah, you guys went through a lot. I mean, your story is very different to mine, and I think that people label mental illness as, oh, just one big blanket, but there are so many. I learned a lot. I learned more than I think I should even know about all this stuff, but
Right.
There's a lot of twists and turns with so many of them, and they're all very, very different, very different.
But what I love about both stories is that we came out on the other side.
Thank
And
God.
so now anyone listening, I have a friend who recently said to me, wow, I'm now going through what you went through. I never thought I would come here. But she said to me, I feel good about it and grateful for it because I know it's going to get us to that other side.
And
So,
you will. And again, I really like to be hopeful in that all of these can turn into success stories with the support of a loving family. I really believe it. They can. But you gotta be prepared for the battle and the journey. You gotta fight. You gotta fight the system. You gotta be your own advocate. You need to educate yourself.
were there any things in particular that you would say that you learned about yourself that you didn't know prior to all of this?
Yeah, a lot. At some points, you get through when the starts, you kind of question yourself as a parent and go, wow, what did I do wrong? Right away. Yeah, I know. You go, what did I do wrong here? How did I go so wrong? How did I miss this? And I remember, so that was one thing. And then I was in counseling, and this counselor said to me, I said, I just want to feel like my old self again. She goes, well, do you think that old self exists now? And it was like I had to mourn myself because that was the old me, and I became a new version with all this armory now about mental health and wellness. And she said, do you think that you did the right thing for Courtney based on what you had in your toolbox at the time? And I said, yes. Now, oh, what now? Knowledge is power. Knowledge is absolute power. And now I know so many other things. So yeah, so I think I've strengthened that muscle. And I learned that we can really handle more than we really think we can handle. Big lesson.
Oh my gosh, this has been such a beautiful conversation.
Yeah. We could talk for days, you and
We
I.
could.
Days.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you really thought was of importance to mention?
No, I think we've tackled it. I would say you got to really educate yourself. Just listen, and if in doubt, I would just say the first number one thing is get a proper diagnosis. Pay for a private psychiatrist or get on a wait list. Failing that, don't ignore any signs of harm. Straight down to CAMH if you're in Toronto, Whitby Shores. A lot of hospitals have a psych ward. Pardon me. And take them straight. It's the best thing you're going to ever do as a parent. I wish I'd have listened to my sister and so many people that were trying to tell me to get her admitted because they know what they're doing. They save
Yes.
lives. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Claudine.
It's
It's
lovely.
been a great conversation, and good on you for sharing and opening your mouth and overcoming that stigma
Thank
that
you.
does exist.
Yeah.
And you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you.
And
I am. And you too for doing this. I love it. We got to just
thank
keep
you.
sharing this. Amazing.
And congratulations to your beautiful daughter.
Thank you.
I
Same to
see on
yours.
social media
Yeah.
how, thriving everything is for her. And just it's such a beautiful story of that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
You
get
can do
there.
it. You can turn it
get
around.
there.
Yeah,
You can.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Thank
with
you.
that is the podcast
That's
for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.